Pryor, you listen to me. I don't care what you do once this thing's over with. You can lay down and die and rot in the street.
At first, it sounds like just another story people tell about a famous man, a larger-than-life figure, a beloved character, a life everyone thinks they already understand. But that's not entirely true, because decades after his passing, something quiet, something personal, finally surfaced, and it didn't come from rumors. It came from his own son. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden truth behind people the world thought it knew, make sure to subscribe and don't miss out on stories like this. This story goes much deeper than it seems. For years, audiences saw him as the same man on and off the screen, gentle, kind, almost too pure for the world around him, the kind of presence that made people feel safe, even through a television. But what if that image wasn't the full picture? Behind that warmth, there were experiences, decisions, and quiet struggles that shaped him in ways most people never noticed. And the truth wasn't dramatic, but human. To understand it, you have to go back to a time before fame, before cameras, before anyone knew his name. He was born in a small town where life moved slowly, where people knew each other, and character mattered more than reputation. From the very beginning, he stood out, not just because of his size, but because of how he carried himself. Even as a child, there was calmness, a quiet strength. While others tried to prove themselves, he didn't feel the need. He worked early. Hard work wasn't something he learned later, it was part of him. Carrying loads, helping wherever he could, standing beside men twice his age, and matching them without complaint. People noticed, they respected him, but they also misunderstood him. When someone is physically imposing, the world expects aggression. But he wasn't built that way, and that difference followed him his entire life. As he grew older, his presence only became more striking, taller, stronger, but still gentle. Sometimes that contrast confused people. They didn't know whether to fear him or trust him, so they tested him. There were moments, challenges, situations where others pushed him. And yes, he could handle himself. But that was never the point. He avoided conflict, unless he had no choice. Even then, there was a line he never crossed. That line would later define him. Before any of that became clear, life took an unexpected turn. It led him somewhere far more intense. War. It wasn't excitement. It was responsibility. And once he stepped into that world, everything changed. Harsh conditions, cold nights, constant uncertainty. This wasn't a place where personality mattered. It was survival. Yet even there, he remained the same. Strong, but controlled. Capable, but grounded. There's a moment people overlook. In chaos, when most focused on survival, he saw someone else in danger. And without hesitation, he moved. Not because he had to, but because that's who he was. That decision left a mark, not just physically, but internally. War doesn't just test strength, it shows you things that stay with you. When he returned, he wasn't the same. He carried perspective. He had seen what conflict really does, and from that point on, he valued peace over power. He became outspoken against violence, quietly advocating for justice, fairness, and compassion. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it was real. That same strength that once made him a force in the battlefield now shaped the man he became in everyday life. Back home, he built a life of love and family. Marriage, children, a quiet home. Yet even with peace, life had surprises. A chance encounter, a small favor, led him to acting. His size and presence caught attention, but it was his heart, humor, and authenticity that won people over. Roles in television followed. Bit parts at first, but soon, something iconic emerged. He became a part of a family everyone adored. Gentle, towering, warm-hearted. He was more than a character. He was a symbol. Audiences saw him as kind and simple, yet beneath that, he was intelligent, thoughtful, educated. His life experiences, his discipline, his understanding of human nature gave depth to every role he played. And people responded. Children, adults, everyone felt it. That quiet authenticity can't be faked. But fame wasn't always easy. His towering frame made anonymity impossible. Family outings became public spectacles. Fans recognized him instantly. Yet, he remained grounded. He sought the quiet moments. He longed for the simple joys. Eventually, he and his family moved abroad, seeking peace. Switzerland offered tranquility, space, a life without constant recognition. The decision wasn't about money. It was about living life on his terms. Despite wealth and success, humility stayed with him. He appreciated what he had but never flaunted it. He cared for others, especially those struggling or overlooked. Teachers, everyday people, friends, he saw them. He understood effort, he valued goodness. His philosophy was simple: use your gifts to help others. On screen or off, that principle guided him. He also fought quietly against injustice. Racial discrimination, bullying, oppression, he confronted it without hesitation. Stories from his colleagues show he never tolerated unfairness, whether on set or off. He understood the responsibility his size and influence carried. Not to intimidate, but to protect. Even in small acts, he left an impression. And then, there was the lighter side. A love for food, for hearty meals, for indulgence. His appetite matched his personality. Big, generous, unashamed. Breakfasts that stunned friends, lunches that amazed, desserts he could never resist. This wasn't just about hunger, it was joy, a way of celebrating life's pleasures. He even co-owned restaurants inspired by the shows he starred in, sharing that joy with others. Yet behind the humor and the appetite, behind the fame and the generosity, there was a man deeply human, complex, disciplined, compassionate. He laughed, he struggled, he loved fiercely, he protected relentlessly. And now, decades later, his family shares stories we didn't hear before. Details that show the man, not the character. Choices that define his legacy. Lessons in courage, humility, and kindness. For those who only saw him on screen, these revelations may surprise you, but they don't change who he was, they deepen it. A man shaped by small towns, war, work, family, and the simple desire to do good. A life lived with authenticity, integrity, and warmth. A gentle giant, not just on screen, but in every sense that matters. Even now, his story resonates, because the truth about people like him is never simple. It's layered, human, inspiring. The warmth we felt on screen mirrors the depth of the life he lived. And now, thanks to his family, we see it fully. A life well lived, a story well told, and a legacy that reminds us greatness is quiet, kindness is powerful, and authenticity leaves a mark that lasts forever.